carefully opened the door of the school's roof and looked around. He wondered why she went to the roof of all places. He spotted her,
standing near the ledge, clearly waiting for him. "Why are you following me?" Cynthia asked as tears fell from her face. She was standing in the center of the roof with her arms still crossed, looking right at him. She let out a soft growl, causing the silver hair on him to stand on end in a fight or flight reaction to her. He ground his teeth, which brought attention to his missing canine. "I want to know what the hell your problem with me is," he returned, stifling his own growl. "Ever since we were in the office, you've had a giant chip on your shoulder. If you're too stupid to remember," she started before she let the sentence die on her lips. She whipped the tears away with the sleeve of her shirt. Kevin's fist clenched for a moment. This girl was clearly different from any girl he'd interacted with in the past, and he was sure she had never even been to the yokai realm. Still, maybe it was people like her that his father wanted him to be aware of. After all, someday Kevin hoped to be king in place of his father, even though the thought of his father dying seemed impossible. "Remember what?" he shouted back. This just caused her to get angrier. She started towards the door, but Kevin just put his arm out to stop her. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" she shouted at Kevin. "You are going to answer me," he commanded. "What are you talking about? Remember what?" She just took his arm suddenly and twisted it, tossing him through the air. He fell through the air. Before landing on his feet a few meters away, he charged back at her, doing his best to pin her, without really striking her. This attack was met by another toss, and she redirected him with relative ease. He knew his problem was that with the beads around his neck he was not able to fight back, and it infuriated him. "Up yours, to think, gah!" she cried out loudly. She charged at him and kicked him hard in the ribs. "Why'd you have to show up here?" Before Kevin could make any sense of this, she got on the offensive and forced Kevin to start dodging. He struggled with each blow, realizing that with his energy sealed, everything about him was too slow and too weak to do much more than just hold her off. In a move of desperation, he jumped back and took a stance in an attempt to try powering up through the beads, as Kevin's shout turned to a pained cry, and something inside Cynthia's heart began to ache. He grunted loudly, squeezed his fist, and began pulling at his energy internally. Cynthia stopped for a second to see what he might be planning, and then felt a strange feeling that was coming off of Kevin. It came all at once, a massive uproar of power, but with it came a sense of dread. She heard the first crack, loud and clear, and looked to see that a small fissure was running along one of Kevin's beads. He was trying as hard as he could to reverse his mistake. He had no idea that pulling his power would cause such a chain reaction. Power seemed to be flowing out freely now, and he had no idea how to control it. Without focus, almost all of his power was flooding out. He looked up towards Cynthia and thought for a split second that if he couldn't figure out how to control this, then the two of them might be the only things to survive within a 12-mile radius. Each of the beads continued cracking before the first one popped. Kevin stared at Cynthia for a moment, and his mind wandered back to a few hours ago. That moment he'd stepped out of the portal. Chapter 1.5. Kevin surveyed his surroundings. On the closest building he spotted the name John Woods High. This building was the one he was looking for, a school for humans. In his father's infinite wisdom, Kevin was going to learn how to focus, and was ordered to attend this human school. He really didn't know how to feel about it all, but he figured till he had a better idea of what to do with his time, he'd play along like a good son. As Kevin looked around and saw what the students were wearing, he suddenly wondered if maybe his clothes were a tad out of date. As he glanced down at himself, he saw the red robe set that he'd acquired from his mother just before her passing. With this on, he stood out like a sore thumb. He pulled out his directions. At the top of the list was to make his way to the main office and sign in. Nearby, a girl dressed in a polka dot top and black skirt was standing near the gate at the entrance of the school. Her black hair was pulled back into a ponytail and showed off her kindly face. Yet as she yelled out to the students, let them know they were in danger of being late and locked out, it was clear that she was in charge. All the students that passed her greeted her with warm smiles. She took notice of Kevin and began making her way over to him. As she smiled at him, he did his best to smile back. For a moment, it almost seemed as though she recognized him. "Hey," she called out to him, Wearing a huge smile on her face, she giggled as she saw him looking bewildered and she waved for him to come over to her. "Are you going to our school?" "Yeah," he responded. "First time. Do you need any help finding your way around the school?" As she asked, the sense that she recognized him wouldn't go away. Kevin sniffed the air just before he answered her. As he took in her scent, he went from being defensive to slightly more open, despite noticing that she was part yokai. "I'm supposed to see someone in the main office," feeling a tad awkward as he stated this. "Could you show me how to get there?" "Of course," she said with a smile. She seemed slightly confused for just a second, though Kevin missed this. "Follow me." Before they started towards the school, she stopped a student and asked him to lock the gate. As the two walked into the building, Cynthia turned to Kevin for a moment. "You're a yokai, right?" she asked. "Yeah, and I noticed," he started casually. "You're a half-breed, right?" She nodded as he said this. "Wow, you're good. Most can't tell that I'm anything but human when I'm in this form," she replied, as she lifted a small set of beads from under her shirt collar. "These work wonders for keeping that hidden." In response, Kevin revealed his own set of beads. Though they were much larger and bulkier, inside each bead there appeared to be an entire spiral arm galaxy that even rotated as though it was real. Cynthia wondered for a second what sorts of powers were capable of making such an illusion. "I hate them, but my father made me wear these. He said it was for everyone's safety." "Everyone's safety?" Cynthia asked. "Yeah. The way he explained it was that till I learned to focus, the power that my body creates would arc off of me uncontrollably without them." "Wow, you must be very powerful." "I guess," he shrugged, "though I always seem to lose. My father says it's because I lack focus." "But what is there to focus on?" For a moment she looked deep into his eyes as she tried to size him up. "Your father, huh?" As she continued to look at him, Kevin couldn't help but notice how green her eyes were. "Well, who is your father?" Before he could answer, they arrived at the main office and she realized her question would have to wait. Cynthia opened the door and led him inside to the principal's door. She knocked and waited to enter until she heard him call out. As they entered, Kevin was hit with the similarities between Cynthia and the principal. The only difference was that his eyes were blue instead of green. Kevin walked up to the principal and bowed. "Hello, my name is Kevin Long and my father has requested that I attend your school. He said that he had met with you, that you'd instruct me on what I need to do." As Kevin stood back up, he looked the two over and wondered if there might be a familial connection between them. "Ah, Kevin, you're the Dog King's son, right?" the principal asked. This question caused Cynthia to gasp quietly as she turned to look at Kevin. Her body language shifted from friendly to slightly hostile. "Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Principal David, though I do prefer the students just call me David." "You're the son of the king?" she asked. Kevin simply nodded in response. It seemed as though this casual acknowledgement only made her angry. "I see. Then you are—" she grunted, as she tried to figure out something to say out, then threw her hands up and walked towards the door. She looked back one more time before leaving the room. "I'm so sorry about her behavior, Prince," he started. "I'll be sure to have a talk with her about it. I can't imagine what might have made her behave that way. Now, I'll give you all the information you'll need." After David gave Kevin the information he needed, Kevin left his office. He left with a change of clothes and some basic instructions, such as where to find the locker, the combination to it, and classes he was scheduled to attend, and along with some other random bits of important information. At the moment, he figured he should try getting into the clothes he was given in an attempt to help him blend in better with the other students. He knew he'd have to find someplace relatively secluded since humans viewed changing clothes in public as inappropriate. At least, that's what his father had told him before he'd left. He spotted Cynthia, leaning against a wall just across from the main office, waiting for him. She held herself in an unpleasant posture with her hands across her chest. She was eyeing him, and despite the still cute look on her face, her eyes were like daggers. She motioned for Kevin to follow her. Her hips swayed along with her hair as they walked, and she kept her gaze straight ahead the whole time, suddenly acting extra cold towards him. "Come on," she hissed at him as she led the way to the nearby boys' room and pointed. "Get changed in there. And with that, I'm done with you." Kevin's ears twitched as he walked into the bathroom. He wasn't sure why, but she seemed upset, even angry at him. Without knowing why, he decided first things first and changed his clothes so that he could get on with the rest of his day. He quickly got out of the ancient-looking robes and put on the more modern-looking red Chinese silk top and black GI pants. He was left with a strange-looking white loincloth-looking thing. He decided since everything else fit fine, he wouldn't need the white cloth and proceeded to toss it into the trash can, then made his way out of the restroom. As he left the restroom, he realized Cynthia was gone. He balled his fist and grunted out of frustration, "Dang it! Now, where am I supposed to go? Sure wish she would have at least waited till I finished changing," he groaned. This drew the attention of a nearby student who came up to Kevin. "Hey man," the student started. "You new here?" "Yeah, name's Kevin. My name is Jay Garrick. I couldn't help but hear you. Did you need help finding your first class?" Kevin nodded, as he pulled out his paperwork and showed it to Jay. Jay took a moment before he stated, "Your first class is next to mine. Follow me. Thanks for your help." "No problem. We're all new at some time. No kidding. That girl Cynthia was supposed to show me around, but she vanished while I was getting changed." "Changed?" "Yeah." Kevin started but got cut off suddenly. "Wait, Cynthia? She left you? Oh man, I don't know what you did, but you must have done something for her to abandon you." "That's just it. I can't think of what it would be. She showed me to the main office, and while we were there, she went from nice to mean without a hint on why. That's so not like here, but maybe she's just having an off day. We all have them, I guess. This is going to be my stop," Jay stated as they reached a classroom. "You keep going down that way and it's the next door. Thanks," Kevin thanked Jay as the two men parted. Just as Jay had informed him, the next room down was in fact the room he was looking for. As Kevin entered the classroom, his nose was hit by the smell of so many people in such a small space, and he was grateful that his father had helped him to prepare for this ahead of time. He looked around for a place to sit before finally seeing that the seat next to Cynthia was open. He quietly made his way to that place. "Hey, weren't you supposed to show me around?" he asked her. As he sat down, he heard her let out a soft growl. Instead of answering him, she just continued to read her book, clearly doing her best to ignore him. Being ignored wasn't something he was entirely prepared for. As the son of the Yokai king, he was never ignored. He wasn't sure if he liked this, but since he'd long since wanted to separate himself from the image of being the prince, he decided he'd just do his best to adapt. "Hey, Cynthia, was it?" he called out. "Is there a reason why you're acting so rude?" For some odd reason, this seemed to enrage her more. As her head turned, and the growl coming from her got louder. "Never," she started, her tone sounding as commanding as possible. "Never say my name again, Yokai. You want to tell me what I did to earn this?" he asked. He squared his jaw and did his best to make himself seem as non-threatening as possible, but this just caused her to sneer. "Shut your mouth, boy, and do as you're told," she shouted, as she slammed her hands on the desk. "To think after you went and left." She got up and made her way out of the classroom quickly, leaving Kevin stunned for a second. This outburst scared the instructor, who had now fallen back into his chair. He sat back for a moment and tried to figure her out. If they had been in the yokai world, his reaction would have been completely different. However, he reminded himself that as long as he was in the human world, he'd have to play by human rules. Still, he wasn't going to just let this episode go, so he got up and followed her. As he did, he felt his beads, and recalled how concerned his father was with what would happen if he let his anger flare up. He warned Kevin that if he let his anger overpower too much, the beads would not be enough to keep his well of power from breaking through them. Leaving the classroom, he caught a glimpse of her form turning the corner ahead of him, and he did his best to catch up. As he rounded the corner, once again he spotted her just as she went through FFA door. It led towards the stairs that went to the roof. He could hear her huffing as she walked, and he wrinkled his nose for a moment, wondering if figuring this girl out was worth all the energy he was expending. Still, the way she treated him was bothering him. Rarely had anyone besides his own father had the nerve to act like this in front of him. When this happened in the past, it usually ended badly. For Kevin, that is, but she was hardly the mountain-sized, three-headed dog yokai that his father was. He knew that fact about his father was the main reason that no one but his father ever gave him trouble. A fact that made him wonder how aware she was of her own yokai heritage. All that aside, the question came back to what had he done to upset her so much? Like a dog with a bone, he found it hard to just shake it off. Back to the present, he snapped his attention to the problem at hand. He looked down at his beads. Damn, he swore. If they all pop, nothing is going to survive. Chapter 2. Kevin sounded pained as he did his best to stop the power from flooding out. He'd caused this and he knew it. In trying to pull out his energy, he destroyed the